Hello, you're watching Total Coverage with Biggs and Blake. Let's get straight to the action.
Hello, welcome to the first episode of the feature deck of the week at Total Coverage. I'm here with Chris Balls, and he's piloting Bant Control this week, so tell me how you did tonight, Chris.
4-0 tonight.
4-0, this man was undefeated, he did win the tournament tonight, so let's talk a little bit about this. So we have 4 Thragtusk and 3 copies of Restoration Angels, so that gives you so much advantage over your opponent, so much time to draw the cards that you need. And we have 1 copy of Augur Bolas. How's that working out for you?
It hasn't really been that good. I kept it in there for the control matchups and some of the early aggro, but I mean it wasn't ever really relevant.
He's a pretty decent blocker against Strangleroot Geist and Gravecrawlers.
Yeah, didn't see a ton of those tonight.
Right.
It does provide some card advantage, but oftentimes what I was digging for was actually the Elixir and control matchups, which is kind of what I left it in for. And twice I would Augur and I hit it both times, so I was pretty brutal. But the Faith Mender just house.
The 1 copy of Rock's Faith Mender.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just having the 1 is just fine. The 5 is a huge butt, and the ability to getting 10 off of Revelation, 10 off Thragtusk is just unbelievable. So
Sure. We have 3 copies of Detention Sphere. Those are really good against Planeswalkers. There's a lot of Planeswalkers going around here right now. They're really good against creatures with Undying.
Yep.
They're really good against opposing Oblivion Rings. Or what are some of the things you use them on?
I initially had 1 when I was playing this deck originally, and I just really liked the 3rd. Alright, upped it to 3. It was just really good. Basically, a lot of people are moving towards Esper Control here, and so having that ability to just have more answers in the main deck, probably more than they do, honestly, main deck, to really help out, because you're only running 2 counter spells, so having the answers to get rid of it, and it helps with Lingering Souls, so there's just some opportunities to get rid of some cards that they have.
Sure. 2-for-1s are always awesome, and even 3-for-1s. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. 3 copies of Think Twice.
Yeah, the Think Twice, I think basically I added the 3rd one because I don't have a Jace. Honestly, that's basically why it was. I'd rather have Jace, although I do kind of like it with the Terminus. It wasn't as relevant tonight. I played a lot more control than aggro. So it's kind of, definitely would have rather had the Jace overall, yeah.
Just 2 copies of Dissipate.
Yep, just your standard counter spell. Have some answers for something.
Yeah, it's a catch-all.
Yep, exactly.
Sure. And then, as far as board sweepers go, you have 3 Terminus and 3 Supreme Verdicts, and I believe this list originally only had 2 and 2.
2 and 1, actually.
2 and 1. 2 verdicts.
2 verdicts
and 1 Terminus. And you upped it to a full count of 6.
Yeah, I really did. Last week, I got destroyed by a couple aggro decks, especially Mono Red, as well as, which isn't actually that bad of a matchup. I just kind of was bricking, and he miracled the 5
damage.
Yeah, whatever that card is.
Thunderous Wrath.
Thunderous Wrath twice in a row. So that was nothing really I could do. But I really brought it in. Last week I also lost to Red Black aggro, which is a pretty bad matchup.
Yeah.
It's the bane of the stacks, and so really just trying to basically house them with the extra 3 Terminuses.
Sure.
To just make sure that I have answers for all their creatures and anything. So
I find that Terminus is much better than Supreme Verdicts, and almost always when I cast it, even if I didn't miracle it, paying 6 for it is absolutely worth it. There's so many things that Terminus gets around. It gets around Undying. Undying is actually the main thing.
Yep.
If you're looking at tons of creatures with Rancors on them, and you cast a Terminus, it doesn't put it, it doesn't give them more value out of the Rancor because it's usually all that they have in their hand.
I brought it, typically what I did was against control matchups like Esper, a lot of times they would still have a couple guys. I would actually just leave in the Verdict. The main reason it can't be countered. There wasn't enough times where there was a Terminus was going to be that relevant, because even when I was playing against the Mirror of the Angels, I just never felt like I was in a bad position, because obviously when we get to the board, I bring in so much more stuff that helps the deck really move into more of a control versus the anti-creature. So,
and just 2 copies of Azorius Charm.
Yeah, I played it. I've never been overly impressed. It's really good, I think, in the red-black aggro decks, just because it can put the dragons back on top of their library, puts the 4/1 back on top of their library, the Undying chick. But otherwise, like, ever since I've been playing with it, I had 4 of, like, usually I would just board it out. I've never been really that happy. I know most of us play 4 of, but I've been really happy with 2. And honestly, I would have.
You cut them for these?
I cut, well, basically, the previous deck was running a little bit heavier, like, creatures. So I was running 4 Thrag, 4 Resto, 3 Augurs, and 2 Angel Serenities. I found the Serenity wasn't really needed in anything. I have Rest in Peace for the Reanimator decks, which, I mean, it's a trump all, but I never, like, when I got it into play, I was typically winning or in a position that didn't really affect the board that much.
Sure, you can apply that 7 mana somewhere else, I'm
sure. This time I moved in the Planeswalker, and I absolutely love Tamiyo.
Yeah, I agree.
She was phenomenal.
She's in my deck too. She's really good.
I would even consider 2. I think the Jace is fine just for the card draw, and you don't want to ever see 2 Tamiyos because it's really bad in the aggro matchups.
Yeah.
But for this meta, I think Tamiya just trumps Jace.
Sure. And this card right here is, I mean, that card is amazing. I can't say enough about Sphinx's Revelation.
Yeah, I think tonight I did it for 9 was the max. I've seen it for 15 in the meta. I mean, it just, it shuts down 90% of decks. And the great thing about it is, you know, if you have to, you can Sphinx for 1. I mean, what I would say playing this deck is never be afraid. I was playing actually Blake a couple weeks ago, and I Sphinxed for 1 in response to him Sphinxing for 3 because I was so far behind on lands. And because of that, I was just able to start drawing into cards and just further my deck so that I was actually able to catch up, and I actually pulled it out, I think, in that matchup. But
and when you're playing 4 of them,
yeah,
you can draw into more and then chain them together, and it gets absurd. That card is amazing.
And with 25 lands, you know, when you play Bant Control, you Sphinx over half, maybe even 2/3 of your cards are going to be lands.
Sure.
It's just something that happens, you know. Obviously, it's going to get a lot worse once the format rotates, but I think it'll still see a lot of play. So.
Yeah, sure. So let's talk a little bit about the lands. You have, it looks like 4 of everything, 4 of all the quick lands and 4 of all the shock lands. And then you're playing 2 Cavern of Souls?
Yeah, they've been clutch. Cavern on Beast and Cavern on Angel.
That's all you really need.
It just shuts it down. They try and dissipate it. I'm like, no Beast. I mean, being able to stick a Thragtusk is huge in control because even if they Wrath or Terminus, you're left with a 3/3, which is still a clock.
Always the 2 for 1.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then you're doing the, what's his name? Reed Duke, the Reed Duke thing down here with the 1 Overgrown Tomb and the 1 Nephalia Drown
Reed
Yard.
deck has 2.
Okay.
I didn't actually let my buddy use all the Overgrown Tombs, so I've just been running 1. I think it's good. I could probably use a second. Having found, honestly, not to jump to the board, but Psychic Spiral was way better. And the other card we didn't touch on, I saw this kind of online and was really happy with it. The ability to just, if they're milling you, you can put it out. Not only do you gain 5 life in the aggro matchups, but it allows you to keep going, sustain it. I was actually losing to Jace on board tonight, Jace Memory Adept to Blake, and basically had this as a safe, but moving right into the board, what'd I get you for 40 some?
44.
Yep, 44.
Jace for 44. It was epic. Or a Psychic Spiral for 44.
Yeah. So this is definitely the all-star of the night. By far the best card I was boarding in all night. As far as moving it, did you have any other questions of the main deck? Or?
No.
Yeah.
Last week you said you had some issues with black-red and mono-red, so what did we do to the sideboard to compensate?
Absolutely.
So last week you said you had troubles with mono-red aggro and black-red aggro. What did you do to the sideboard to compensate?
Yeah, absolutely. Initially I had a lot more anti-control stuff. Basically, I just went all in. Went with the 4 Centaur Healers.
Seems pretty good.
And the second Rocks Faithmonger out of the board. Basically, that's pretty much it. You board out a lot of the stuff. that you aren't going to be using, honestly. So the healers were probably house. The ability to gain 6, to angel those, it was just phenomenal all night. I was very happy.
Yeah, and
with
it does have really good interactions with a lot of the deck. I really do like this. I haven't seen it a whole lot, but it seems pretty good. I know I've watched a few of Reed Duke's videos, and he has trouble. It just constantly losing to those mono red decks, especially
it's
the ones
the worst
that
matchup.
Especially the ones that are playing the Helion Crucibles.
Yeah.
It seems like that's the card that he loses to most of the time, or the Dragon. The Dragon is amazing. So
yeah.
We have
the Dragon's still a problem. Unfortunately, at that point, you become basically hopefully bigger, faster, sooner than them.
Right.
In the sense that you live longer, but you're still putting in 3/3s and 1/5, 5/3s.
You don't have a suitable blocker.
Yeah, and you're still Revelations and Auxiliary. Basically just continuing to do that over and over until, in theory, you can get there. So
Sure. You have 2 copies of Rest in Peace.
Yep. Always just respecting blue-white. It just shuts them down. A lot of times they don't even expect it.
It is the bane of Rune Channers.
Yep. And obviously there was Reanimator, so just having that available.
Okay. 1 Jace Memory Adept for the control.
Yep, absolutely. I'd love to have Sneakin' too. I mean, he's just so good when you get there. I don't really know what I cut at this point. Pretty happy with everything, with what I had. I didn't really feel I was really out of control in most of the matchups.
And Psychic Spiral.
Yeah, 2 is definitely the magic number. A lot of people see 1. I know Jerry T, I guess, came out and said something about it. I just saw it on a list online and just thought, wow, this is the best way to beat it. And especially since it's an instant. I mean, a lot of times they just don't see that coming.
That was
They'll
part of
mill
the
for
reason.
10,
yeah.
And you put all my cards but 1 in my deck. And I was like, Spiral you? With Negate and Dispel mana up. So, and the other thing was I had the jar online, so if I didn't get you that turn, I'd shuffle everything up and just do it again.
Sure. For counter spells, you have 2 Negates and 2 Dispels. How are those?
I actually brought in the second Dispel. I was very happy with it. The Negates are great. Probably even do 1 more there. The Dispel, I think, is just relevant because if you're playing a mirror match and they're playing Sphinx Revelation and they don't, they tap out and they don't respect your 1 mana, I mean, you just stick it to them, which is a huge swing in the game.
Second copy of Rock's Faithbender.
Yep, goes along with the Centaur Healer. It's just a great way to slow it down and gain some life. And the phenomenal thing is he swings back for 2 life. So a lot of times I was just swinging in because you only hit him for 1, but you gain 2 life to stay in there. So
it's really hard for those mono red decks, especially, to kill him. They basically have to 2 or even 3 for 1 themselves just to do it. The only I think actual 1 for 1 is a Morbid Brimstone Volley.
Yep.
Other than that, I don't think that they have an answer for it, unless they're playing like a random 1 of Devil's Play or something like that.
Which, that's 5 damage that's not going to your face.
Sure,
so,
yeah.
I mean, it's still huge.
Yeah, and then 1 copy of Brave Revelation.
Yeah, again, just kind of respecting the control matchups. Also, there's Rancors running around in our meta. So basically, I just kind of wanted to have an answer to all of that. And I mean, obviously, the 2 for 1, so even if it does get milled, you have a way to kill their stuff that's taking out stuff that's relevant for your game. So, yeah, I boarded it a couple times when I played Control, never really saw it. So I can't say it was great, but I wasn't ever happy if I saw it in my hand. Unhappy if I saw it in my hand.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right, this has been Featured Library of the Week. I'm here with Chris Balls, and now we're going to see a matchup, you playing Black-Green Zombies.
That's right. Yep. We're going to see how it goes, putting in kind of the theory. It's actually a pretty good matchup for me. He has a lot of stuff to go in the graveyard, but I have the Rest in Peace to bring out of the board, and also all the Centaur Healers and all the life gain that he has a really hard time dealing with. So I feel pretty good about this matchup. And Sphinx of Revelation is still house.
All right, let's get to it.
Okay, here we are with the game. So, Blake, who's favoring this matchup?
Game 1, I mean, it really depends on what
looks like
kind
Chris,
of hands that they draw. And
Chris won the die roll, so I think, well, as a control, do you want to go second or do you want to go first?
No, I always want to go first. I don't care what kind of deck I'm playing.
Okay.
But in this kind of matchup, I would say that Joe is obviously favored in going first, so he's going to be a little bit farther behind the entire game because he's on the draw.
And through our lovely camera angle, looks like Chris has a Verdict. He's got an Angel Resto in there, and he's got a Sphere, looks like.
There's an Azorius Charm.
Yep.
I think I see a Cavern of Souls.
So is that a pretty good starter then?
It's okay. I think one more land with your colors would be, superb, because he's not going to be able to cast that Azorius Charm right away and draw any cards with the Cavern of Souls. Other than that, the hand seems pretty okay. This deck should be able to draw out of that. It's not an ideal start, but...
Thanks, Chris, for adjusting that mat for us. That was kind of
And it looks like Joe took a mulligan.
That's probably a good idea with the zombies because you really want to have gas to start, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I think the ideal hand would probably be like land, maybe 2 1-drops with 2 power, and backed up with something like a Rancor or a Lotleth Troll. I see a Gravecrawler, a Tragic Slip. There's a Diregraph Ghoul.
I think I saw another Ghoul in there. I think that's going to help him.
Oh, absolutely. And Chris draws, looks like Sun Petal Grove. So that's going to come into play tapped, which doesn't help him play that Azorius Charm, but we got...
Elixir out. Okay.
Essentially, and Joe's attacking for 2 here, and looks like he's going to play...
He's got Gravecrawler in his hand, I think?
Yeah, there's a Gravecrawler.
Okay.
Essentially, I think Chris put the Elixir back into the deck. He draws another land that comes into play tapped. Because of the Esper control matchups, and like the mill in that deck is just house against it, makes the matchup very, very difficult for him. So the turn 1 Elixir of Immortality, not really doing much in this matchup other than gaining 5 life.
Well, I think it's going to help him stave off the zombie...
The horde,
yeah,
if you will.
Is Joe off to a slow start here?
No, I don't really think so. Not in this matchup particularly.
Okay.
Chris has the Sphinx's Revelation in his hand and a Detention Sphere, maybe a second Revelation. Oh no, it's a Supreme Verdict. So he's going to attack for 4 again, which I think knocks Chris down to 14. Sorry, folks, we don't have the life totals up for you yet. We're working on that. And he's going to play a third 2-power creature. So he's doing just fine here. Hand looks like...
he's got a Messenger in hand, too, it looks
Messenger, Grizzly Salvage, Tragic Slip, and Deathrite Shaman. He needs a 3rd land.
Should he have gotten that Shaman out sooner? Or is it more of a mid-game kind of deal?
Chris is going to gain 5 life to shuffle his library here. He must be digging for something. The Shaman in this matchup... I think it's probably pretty good. Chris isn't on like Snapcaster Mage or anything like that, but just the incremental damage. He's going to put a lot of instants and sorceries in his graveyard, and the incremental damage that he can do with the Shaman is good. And also, it has the potential to produce mana, I guess.
Okay.
I was thinking. I guess Chris isn't playing Thought Scour or anything that's going to intentionally put cards into his graveyard. So.
Okay. What is Joe's best strategy in this matchup? Does he just keep turning them sideways and be as aggressive as possible?
Just go for it. Go for it no matter what happens. Of course, he doesn't want to overextend himself, and I think knowing that Chris is playing Detention Spheres really kind of devalues a lot of what's going on here right now. Like, I don't know if there's a Supreme Verdict.
Yeah.
Which is fine. He's got the Messenger in his hand. If he draws another land, he can play the Messenger and then play... There is a 3rd land. There's a Messenger. So next turn he can recast the Gravecrawler, which is fine. I think Gravecrawler is probably one of the better cards that he always wants to have.
Oh, without a doubt. With zombies in the last year or two, I have not seen a deck without a Gravecrawler.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing is just stupid good.
So Chris is still having a hard time drawing lands. It looks like we might be flashing in an Angel here to block that Geralf's Messenger. Which is a suitable answer. Yep,
there it is.
There's the Angel.
Now, did he want to do that just to trigger the Undying, or did he want to wait until it dies once, or does he just want to avoid all damage?
I think he's just trying to... He's saving himself a life here. Okay. Instead of taking 3, he's only going to take 2 now, which is fine.
Okay. And then Undying trigger, and yep, there's the counter.
So there's a Guildgate,
And a Tragic Slip on the Restoration Angel. Epic!
That'd be a good one to get out of the way, I think, especially against zombies.
Absolutely. Yeah, they don't have any way of dealing with flying creatures. And he recasts the Gravecrawler.
Which is good, because you still want to stay aggressive.
I think at this point, I might have went ahead and cast the Deathrite Shaman.
Sure.
There's a Detention Sphere for the Drelf's Messenger. Yeah, that's probably going to hurt him in the long run, not casting that Deathrite Shaman there. But he can get ahead because he has the Tragic Slip in his graveyard he can exile and deal 2 damage with. I can't see Chris's graveyard, but I think... There's a Supreme Verdict in his graveyard, so...
There's a Verdict and an Angel, for sure.
Okay. I think that's all that's in there, actually, but... Chris chose a Think Twice. He's still having a hard time drawing land. If he can't make land drops every turn, that Sphinx's Revelation is just rotting.
Well, would he do it for a small amount at this point?
He's going to main phase the Think Twice here because he's trying to make his land drop. He draws a Thrag Tusk. And we're flashing back Think Twice.
Well, at least he drops his Thrag Tusk next turn, right?
Yeah, he got the Hallowed Fountain, so... That's fine.
And was that an activation on Shaman? No, it wasn't.
No, he cast it.
Oh, okay. Oh, that turn. Okay, yeah.
Wait. Did he play it last turn? I must have missed it. And we're turning sideways with the Gravecrawler. Chris is tapped out, so it's an opportune time to just unload.
Get in for as much as he could.
I don't actually have Joe's deck list in front of me. I'm not sure how many copies of Cavern of Souls he's playing, but I know that Chris's main deck only has 2 Dissipates in it for counters, so Cavern of Souls wouldn't be huge in this matchup. He draws another land, so he's finally been able to dig. He can get enough land. There's a Thrag Tusk.
That's going to get him 5. 5 easy life right there.
You know, Thrag Tusk makes these dirtily controlled decks so much better because it just keeps them alive for so long. Not only does it gain them 5 life, but it's always a 2-for-1, and it's a house blocker. It kills everything, and it pretty much blocks everything.
Is it also a nice change of pace from just counter spells?
Well, I mean, it's pretty hard to have a control deck without some kind of
sure, but at least it's another
plan.
Weapon that you can use.
You can use it to kill him. Absolutely. Can't see Joe's hand. What's he holding? There's another Drelf's Messenger.
Well, if I had to guess, Blake, I think it'd probably be another zombie, but who knows?
Ooh, he almost flipped it. Maybe Chris saw it, but we sure didn't. I don't know what we're thinking about here. Oh, I was thinking about his attacks. We're going to block the Diregraph Ghoul. Nice choice. And... oh, I was hoping for a Tragic Slip.
That'd be very nice.
I'm not sure how many copies of Tragic Slip he's playing, but a lot of the zombies lists I've seen aren't playing it, and I think it's very, very good, especially in a matchup like this. Looks like Chris has Dissipate, Sphinx's Revelation, and Farseek. He could have used that Farseek a long time ago.
I think it just might have...
I think right now you just say go and ride on the Sphinx's Revelation for tons of value.
Well, especially end of turn, too.
He's going to exile the Tragic Slip to deal 2 to Chris. This Sphinx's Revelation right here is going to be huge. Potentially, he can draw into some...
All right, folks, we're back. Sorry about technical difficulties, but we're going to just pick it up later in the round here.
So we missed a Sphinx's Revelation for, I think...
oh, there's Dissipate on
I think
Messenger.
for 5. So Chris drew a Tameo, a Terminus, and I'm not sure what else he has. So Joe then cast a Grizzly Salvage and got a Messenger and dumped, looks like 3 lands and a Rancor. So that's pretty much where we are right now. We've only seen 1 Tameo activation. So.
I believe Tameo tapped down the Cavern of Souls, because otherwise Joe would have used that to get Messenger out.
Sure.
But that was, oh boy, Chris has a loaded hand.
Yeah, he's got tons of value in there. There's a Terminus. He's not showing it anymore. I saw a Terminus. And looks like another copy of Dissipate. We'll see a Farseek here. There's a Think Twice. And another Farseek. Casting 2 Farseeks. Getting a Hallowed Fountain and a Temple Garden.
Is it best to do them 2 at once like that, Blake? Or
well, it's actually not. It's actually not legal, but I mean, who wants to shuffle their library twice?
Okay.
technically you have to let the entire spell resolve, which involves shuffling your library. So.
I guess as an overall strategy, though, would you want to do 2 in 1 turn just to get more?
Yeah, if you have, I mean, he has tons of mana out there. The more lands that he has in play, the bigger his Sphinx's Revelation are, the farther he's going to get ahead. So, absolutely.
And Joe's, I think, got a troll in his hand. Yep. Oh no,
It's
Mangler.
It's a Dreg Mangler.
Yep.
So we'll see it dissipate here. And a Gravecrawler.
Does he have another one in his yard to bring out?
I don't. I see 2 Diregraph Ghouls, 3 Diregraph Ghouls. No, I don't see any copies of Gravecrawler. He's exiling. Oh, the Dissipate exiles the spell when it resolves.
So how far behind is Joe right now?
This game is pretty much lost. All Chris has to do is find a win condition. The Nephelia Drownyard and Tamiyo's Ultimate are, I mean, they're impossible to deal with. Because what Chris can do is just mill himself with the Nephelia Drownyard, and then every card that he mills goes into his hand. So it's just like drawing 3 cards. Chris is going to cast a Think Twice. His hand is Supreme Verdict, Elixir of Immortality, Think Twice. And I think that was it. And looks like we're going to see a flashback Think Twice. He's digging for a win condition. He draws another Supreme Verdict. So he casts the Elixir. He doesn't have black mana in play to actually activate. Oh, wait. No, he doesn't have black mana in play to actually activate the Nephelia Drownyard. It seems to me like maybe he should have went and got his Overgrown Tomb with one of those Farseeks.
Is there any way Joe can just get back in this? I mean, should he just be dropping creatures or...
Well, I mean, that's what he wants to do. That's what he wants to do. Is I have no idea what Chris's life total is at this point, but I mean, he has to just unload. So the Dissipate there was actually pretty huge on the Dreg Mangler because now he can't scavenge it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the ability to scavenge on the Gravecrawler right there and get in for 5, no matter how much life Chris has, is good. So this Elixir of Immortality is a nuisance to Joe right now. Chris is going to draw another card, flashing back the Think Twice. Maybe he has a win condition now. Or maybe he drew black mana for the Nephelia Drownyard.
What is he actually digging for? Probably Pike?
I've seen Azorius Charm. He doesn't have pikes in his deck.
Oh, okay.
The Thragtusk or Restoration Angel are usually his win conditions. And Tamiyo can go Ultimate next turn.
And that's probably the smart thing, just to keep Cavern out of play, right?
Well, actually, I take that back. Last turn, the Gravecrawler was tapped down with the Tamiyo, not the...
Oh, not the Cavern.
Not the Cavern, so the Scavenger in there wouldn't have mattered anyway. He cast a Supreme Verdict. This Thragtusk right here is probably going to kill Joe. I don't really see any way for him to get out of it at this point.
And not that we're really counting life, but Chris is probably got to be close to 40 by now, right? I mean, he loves putting himself way out of range.
Well, yeah, that's what the deck does, but, you know, there's really no way of telling. I know that I saw at least one Thragtusk resolve, so that was the second one, and that's the second time that he's activated the Elixir of Immortality, so Joe could have potentially killed him twice by now, who knows. I'd say Chris is probably somewhere around 30. But let's see, the Tamiyo just ticked up to 8 this turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he's going to go Ultimate with it now. I didn't see what Joe drew there.
So once Chris explains Tamiyo's Ultimate to Joe, is it probably just best for Joe to concede? Or I mean, I've faced a couple Ultimates, I'm just like, I really hate this game right now.
At this point, we're looking at going to time. So he casts the Ultimate Price on the Thragtusk. At this point, we're looking to go in at time. I would say Tamiyo's Ultimate with Nephelia Drownyard in play, even though he don't have a black mana to activate it. See, he's got Supreme Verdict in his hand, a Terminus. I mean, Chris could ask for a concession. He could just show him his hand and say, "This is what I got. Do you scoop?"
Oh, there's the tomb.
There's the. He's just going to draw tons of cards now.
I think he's now explaining to Joe what he has in his
conceding.
hand.
Joe concedes. All right, now we're going to go to game 2. Chris has, let's see, he's got Centaur Healers in his sideboard that I think he should definitely bring in this matchup. He's got a Rest in Peace that he definitely wants in this matchup. I'm not sure what Joe is going to board in. When I was playing Green-Black Zombies, I had Golgari Charms that I could bring in, but that was before a lot of people were playing Terminuses, so I'm sure he's got some amount of Duresses / Appetite for Brains that he definitely wants in this matchup.
Yeah, because you really want to get rid of those Sphinxes somehow, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The Sphinx Revelation and Terminus. I'd say your 3 top enemies are probably Sphinx's Revelation, Terminus, and Supreme Verdict. But also, like I had Crippling Blights, which is a really, really, really good way to deal with Ragtusk. So I don't know what he's going to do to deal with Ragtusk, because Zombies typically has a pretty hard time getting around Ragtusks.
Okay, I think we're just gonna pick this up with game 2 in a second. See you in a bit.
I had Joe's deck list in front of me because I want to know what he brings in.
I think that'd be a good idea for the future, Blake. Make people submit their deck lists.
Terrible. I hope he has Vampire Nighthawks in his sideboard.
But then we can talk about all the terrible cards that people bring in bad situations.
Yeah. A lot of times I don't think it's what you bring in that's a bad choice. It's what you take out is oftentimes where we falter.
Well, at least Joe has some gas here. He's got land, and he's got a great color in his hand, and Appetite.
I saw Vampire Nighthawk! Yeah!
So I think Joe's probably just going to keep going until he gets Terminus or...
Gonna play a Vampire Nighthawk next turn and crush face. That's a pretty good way of dealing with Ragtusk. Chris is off green mana right now, but I don't see... he's got a Centaur Healer in his hand. He needs green mana.
Go, Joe. Go, Joe. Go.
I'm rooting for Joe in this one. Let's go, Joe. He's down the game.
Turn him sideways, baby. Not a kid.
So that'll take Chris down to 14. And does he have a 3rd land? Oh.
At least he's going to get a Shaman online.
He's going to cast an Appetite for Brains here and take something awesome out of Chris's hand. Really? You're not going to cast it? Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Get the Faithmender.
Ooh.
Get the Faithmender. He's going to take the Terminus. Get the Faithmender.
Oh, the Revelation. And
It's converted mana cost 4 or greater. So he needs to take that Rock's Faithmender because his only suitable answer for it is Ultimate Price or a Morbid Tragic Slip.
And then Chris
I would take the Rock's Faithmender. It's way more of a nuisance than a Terminus. You can play around Terminus and you can play through Terminus, but you cannot. It's much more difficult to play through a Rock's Faithmender. Yes! I love it when playing comes together.
And then Chris is doing the really nice thing. He's just going to leave his hand out for him.
Leave his hand out so he can see. Yeah.
Yep.
He'll pick it up in a few minutes. He still doesn't have any green mana, but he's going to cast...
rest in peace. That's not good.
Ouch.
So, Undying is turned
That's
off
why
right
we
now.
play. That's why we play Duress. Never been a big fan of the Appetite for Brains.
He's swinging with all 3. Is that smart?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can see his hand.
Sure.
And, Deathrite Shaman's activated abilities are kind of irrelevant with that Rest in Peace in play now, so you might as well just attack with it.
Is that all it's good for right
There's
now?
a Restoration Angel. Blocking the Diregraph Ghoul. I would say Chris has pretty much got this in the bag, even if he doesn't have green mana. That Rest in Peace in play and that Restoration Angel right there. Is that a green mana? I can't see it. He covered it up. Yes,
Yep.
it is.
Got a Harbor.
There's a Centaur Healer.
Gaining life.
He's really just going to get on board with this. I don't... We're going to see a Vampire Nighthawk here, I hope. What do you draw? Grizzly Salvage?
Yeah.
Not a big fan of that card in this deck. Maybe as a one-of, so that you can dig for a Giralf's Messenger.
Oh boy.
What up? I love the Vampire. As you will see very soon from my next deck that I will be featuring, I am in love with Vampire Nighthawk right now. But we'll talk about that more later. I still think that Joe is in a position to attack.
Just keep going with zombies, right? Just keep turning them sideways.
Especially with that Vampire Nighthawk. That trades with a Restoration Angel like a boss. And it gains him 2 life. He draws a 4th land. Turn it sideways. Yeah!
Does he dare? Okay, so he's gonna
I would,
the angel. Okay.
I would block, absolutely.
Okay, but he still gets 2 life off of it, and it's probably still value, right? At least getting that stupid angel out.
Chris is at 9 right here. That Drell's Messenger will take him down to 7. So really, he's not out of the woods yet. He does have that second Centaur Healer in his hand and a Sphinx's Revelation now. Actually, Joe didn't see that Sphinx's Revelation before, did he? Oh yeah, it was in his hand.
Yeah.
I take that back.
He's trying to decide between the Terminus and the Faith.
So I'm all for Terminus right now. Joe's got 2 cards in his hand. I have Grizzly Salvage, and I'm not sure what the other one is. He just says go. Chris is looking to cast the Sphinx's Revelation here. Sphinx's Revelation for 4, so that would put him back up to 11. What does Joe have in his hand? I see the Grizzly Salvage, Drell's Messenger. Is that a...
I think it might be another Appetite, but I can't tell you.
I think it's a multicolored card. I think it might be a Dreg Mangler. So he's going to attack. That'll take Chris down to...
He's got another Nighthawk.
I don't know why he didn't block. He does have another Nighthawk?
Yes, he does.
So good! Oh, he does block. Okay.
Oh, and now he's explaining that...
Wah, wah. Apparently Joe didn't know that Rest in Peace shuts that down.
Oh. Oh, another Appetite.
It is an Appetite for Brains. Good call, buddy.
Let's get some of that stuff out of your hand.
Let's get that Frag Tusk.
Yeah.
Goodbye, senor. I wonder how many Appetite for Brains he's playing.
I'd play 4.
You would?
Oh, hell yeah.
I think I would play 2 Duresses. 3 Duresses and 1 Appetite for Brains.
Yeah, I think you're right. Dress might be a little bit better.
Well, it takes care of... For one, he could have got that Rest in Peace out of his hand, but... Or no, he drew that the turn after. Never mind. But you get that Terminus right there. Could have got that Sphinx's Revelation. In Chris's deck list, I think the only relevant targets after sideboarding are Terminus, Thragtusk, and Rock's Faithender. So I'd say it's pretty likely that he's gotten lucky and hit with the Appetite for Brains twice.
There goes the Terminus. Clear the board, reset it a little bit.
The good thing for Joe is the Terminus doesn't exile his creatures, so if we get to a point where he's drawing that deep into his deck again, he's going to see him again.
Now, what's Chris doing at this point? Is he just kind of stalling for...
Well, he doesn't have much going on in his hand. I don't
Okay.
know what the face down card is, but he's sitting on on Centaur Healer and a second Rest in Peace, which has no value at all. But that Dread Mangler right there was really good.
So, but Chris is still trying to just find his win condition and...
He's only at 6 life. I think he's just trying to stay ahead.
Okay.
Or trying to stay alive, I mean.
Here's a Think Twice.
I usually side out some number of my Think Twices when I'm putting in Rest in Peace, just because it just loses value. Just loses value when you can't flash it back.
Why is he swimming with his healer?
No, he just cast that healer and he blinked it with the angel. So he's got himself up to a healthy 12 now. He's probably out of the woods, especially with that board presence. That Dreg Mangler's not getting through unless he draws a Rancor. I don't know how many Rancors he's playing. I played 4, but that's probably not the correct number.
Joe's gonna swing in here.
He's got complete sauce in his hand. He's holding Vampire Nighthawk. Oh dang it! I forgot. And another Drell's Messenger.
There goes Scavenge Mechanic, but he did get a Night.
I think I probably would have blocked with the Restoration Angel there.
Well, he double blocked, I believe.
No, I think he just blocked with Centaur Healer. Cast Grizzly Salvage. He main faces the Grizzly Salvage even though he's tapped out. Looks like we're taking a Drell's Messenger.
Is he gonna be able to stick the messenger?
Chris probably boarded out his counter spells.
Okay.
What do you draw? Guild Gate.
I think so.
Swing. And we're going to see. He's just taking two. So, Joe is wide open to play a Drell's Messenger now. He doesn't cast it. He's going to mill him.
Oh boy.
Well, that didn't get rid of much.
That's still a sick feeling though when you see all your cards go.
Well,
exile.
it helped him more than it hurt him, I think.
Yeah, but I hate to see a Nighthawk go in exile or a messenger.
Third copy of Centaur Healer. Those things are doing work in this game.
Yeah.
You know, we saw on the sideboard how he was having troubles with
There's a swing from Joe.
the mono red deck, and that was what led him to putting 4 copies of Centaur Healer into his sideboard. That just makes this matchup so much better.
Well, I think there's really good synergy too with the Resto Angel where you just
Oh, did you see he milled a Lotleth Troll, a Dreg Mangler, and an Ultimate Price. All 3 cards would have been really good right now.
Come on, Joe, you gotta close out the game, buddy.
He had him within clinching distance. This deck just has a tendency to stabilize it too.
Okay, well, that's where we're going to leave you for this week. Blake, can you give us a little bit of wrap-up and just your final thoughts on this game and this match?
You know, Chris had, amazing matches, amazing draws. Besides, in Game 1, he had a little bit of trouble getting off of his land, but I really think that, with more Rancor action going on in the black-green deck, maybe he just wasn't drawing them, I don't know. He would have been able to get there, but the Centaur Healers were definitely really, really good. So, good job, Chris, on that deck tech.
All right.
Next week, we will be joining you with some awesome Gate Crash brewing deck testing. So we won't be here for the Library of the Week, but in 2 weeks, we'll be featuring Cameron Whipple, and he's going to surprise us with a really awesome deck that he says he's going to go 4-0 with. So take it easy, you guys. This has been Total Coverage, DSM, with Blake and
Eric.
And you guys have a good night. Thanks.